so many notable NWSL guests throughout the years here on We Need to Talk. We've seen the growth of the league and covered in depth the fight for equal pay of the U.S. women's national team, and now a woman who is changing the game with her continued investment in women's soccer, owner of the Washington Spirit, Michele Kang. Welcome to We Need to Talk.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's such a pleasure to have you here, and it was interesting. I was reading how you said in the Financial Times in May that you tend to do things for the first time that no one has ever done. No one has taken on 3 professional women's soccer teams like you have in the Spirit.
Apparently not.
No. You have Spirit, Lyon, and Lionesses. Why invest in those teams, and why do you feel the multi-club approach will work?
Yeah, so when I first acquired the Spirit, I began to learn about, how do you make the team successful. Women's sports is not a charity, and it is not a corporate DEI project. It is on its own incredible entertainment product and sports product. So I wanted to figure out how to take the team to the next level. And I found out that just a lack of investment in the infrastructure, training, playing environment, performance, medical was just not up to the standard. And unless you can really raise the standards for those type of things, it's not going to be the best product against other competition or other forms of entertainment. But as you know, the sports that it's still at its infant, kind of in terms of the evolution of growth in terms of business. We don't have a big media deal like NFL, NBA that can pay for a lot of investment. So we need a lot of investment dollars, and one team cannot afford to have the level of investment. So, on the men's side, the multi-club is somewhat kind of viewed as a greed or, sort of a negative connotation, but I call in the women's side, it's a necessity. I need to pool the resources across multi-clubs so that I can invest at the level that we need to invest. The second part is the women's sports. I think it's a movement, and I don't want this to be investment or otherwise should be like, English or US or French phenomenon. I mean, the football is one of the most popular game around the world, and there are so many girls who play sports, and I want them to feel that all the investment that we're making, whether it's on performance, infrastructure, will all be made available in their backyard. So it's really up to them. They have no other excuse because it's going to be made available in with Asia, South America, and Africa, and so forth. So it was sort of an acceleration of the women's sports movement.
Part of the women's sports movement too, and all the free time that you have and everything you're doing, creating this women's sports organization, Kuniska Sports International. What was the motivation behind that?
Well, yeah, so that's what I just talked about, right? So it's really building critical scale. Right, so that we can invest, we can provide the necessary training facilities, stadium, the training women as women, the healthcare, the medical capabilities. So we needed the scale to pool the resources, and in terms of even youth club development and so forth, but also the acceleration of the women's, the girls, young girls all around. And Kuniska name actually came from the women who lived in I guess, ancient Greece. She was a Spartan princess who was very much into horseback riding. And at that time, women were not allowed to compete in the Olympics. And apparently married women weren't even allowed to watch. So however, she figured out that the chariot racing, the medals were awarded to women, the owners of the horses, not the racers. So she decided she was going to invest in breeding the best horses and training the horses. And then she went out and hired a whole bunch of male chariot racers and had them compete. And they won the competition. So she's the first Olympic gold medalist.
Well, you know what? Can we actually go backwards for a minute? Your childhood was spent in Korea.
Yes.
At a time where maybe little girls weren't necessarily so sports crazed. You didn't come to America until you were a college student. what was the draw of sports? How did you even get into sports?
Well, actually, sports was actually all kinds of sports were actually very popular. And I mean, thanks to my parents, I went to an elementary school where actually sort of the equal infrastructure, equal opportunity were very much emphasized. So I played just about every sport. And it's funny, when I first took over the Spirit, I was interviewed by local TV stations after we talked about all these things. She asked me, did you play soccer? And I said, yeah, of course I play soccer in my elementary school days. And she goes, what position did you play? And I said, did you hear what I just said? I played in the elementary school. We just followed the ball like a bee. So I played everything, the soccer, basketball, volleyball, yeah, and then tennis, yeah.
All the investment that you are making in women's sports right now, what do you feel is the biggest barrier we need to get past?
I think that we came a long way, even between the time when I first invested, which is like 2021, 2022, to now, and it's becoming sort of at the very beginning stage of the sort of the mainstream, but there are still a lot of people who are on the fence. That, oh, you don't have enough, the audience coming to, the fans coming to the stadium, or the viewership. I mean, numbers will show you that just even NWSL, the Women's Soccer League, the viewership just doubled this year over last year. The stadium attendance went up by 50%. Like half of our teams are setting records, attendance records. Every month actually we're actually exceeding our own goals and stuff. So I think convincing people, and I was actually very surprised, because the reason why I also started investing is because there was an incredible potential between where it was and where it could be. And I was shocked that with all the investment dollars available in sports and elsewhere, private equity, everything else, that there wasn't really investment. So I think there's a lot more skeptics out there. I don't know whether there is a gender issue or not, but I think numbers will prove that this is an incredible opportunity, and the time is now, and if you miss it, you're going to regret.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here on We Need to Talk, and thank you for your investment. We hope others will continue to do the same and follow your path.